Okay, we're going to be doing problem 1-2b, classifying costs. The following is a list of costs incurred by several businesses, and then we have all of these costs listed, A through G, and then back up here we have H all the way down to X, instructions. That's what we're looking for. Classify each of the preceding costs as a product cost or period cost. Indicate whether each period cost is a selling expense or an administrative expense. Use the following tabular headings for preparing your answers. Place an X in the appropriate column, and it shows us the headings that we need to use. And if you went online and printed out the working papers, then it is already set up for you and ready to go. Okay? So all we're going to do is go through each of these costs and classify them, put them where we think they need to be. So the first one is letter A, says salary of a quality control supervisor. Okay? So a quality control supervisor isn't necessarily somebody that's creating the product, okay? But they are working in the factory, so they're going to be a factory overhead cost. So we're just going to put an X there. Okay? Letter B, packing supplies for products sold. These supplies are a very small portion of the total cost of the product. Okay? Now we read before, in order for it to be direct materials, it has to be a larger part of the cost. In order to be direct labor, it has to be a larger part of the cost. So this still has to do with the factory, but it's not a huge part of the cost, so it's going to become factory overhead. Okay. The next one, letter C, factory operating supplies. Again, there's that word factory. Every time you see the word factory, it needs to be one of these first three columns: direct materials, direct labor, or overhead. Since this says factory operating supplies, it's not for a specific product, so we're going to put an X in factory overhead. Okay. Depreciation of factory equipment. Again, the word factory, but it's not a specific product, so it also becomes factory overhead costs. Letter E is the hourly wages of warehouse laborers. Now, this one tripped me up when I did it the first time. Warehouse laborers are not the people that are putting the product together. Okay? You got to watch that word warehouse. They're not the people putting the product together. They're the people who are moving it in order to get it ready for shipping. Okay? So that is going to become a factory overhead cost. Okay. Letter F, wages of the company controller's secretary. Now, we learned in the PowerPoint that a controller is an accountant. So the accountant's secretary for letter F, that would be an administrative expense. Okay. So letter F would be an administrative expense because that's a secretary that's not working in the factory. She's working in the office, or he. G, maintenance and repair costs for factory equipment. There's that word again. That word factory popped up. It's not for a specific product, so letter G has to be factory overhead. Okay. Move this up a little bit. Letter H, paper used by a commercial printer. Okay, so if it's paper that the commercial printer is using, then chances are that is their product. Okay, so letter H would be a direct materials cost because they're a commercial printer, so paper is their product. Okay, letter I, entertainment expenses for sales representatives. Okay, there's the word sales in letter I, so we know by using our context clues here that letter I is going to have to be a selling expense because it has the word sales in it. It's talking about things for the sales team. Letter J, protective glasses for factory machine operators. Okay, again, we're in the word factory, so it has to go in one of the first three columns. It's not directly related to any specific product, so it's going to be an overhead cost. So J is factory overhead. Letter K, sales commissions. There's the word sales. So letter K becomes a selling expense. L, the cost of the hogs for the meat processor. That would be a direct material. Okay, so that goes in the first column, direct materials cost. My headings are getting a little far away from my spots here. Letter M is the cost of telephone operators for a toll-free hotline to help customers operate products. Okay, let me read that again. The cost of the telephone operators for a toll-free hotline to help customers operate their products. Okay. It doesn't talk about the factory. This is post-purchase help, post-purchase assistance. So letter M is going to be selling expenses. Okay, letter M is going to be selling expenses because if we think about a company who has any kind of product, they have a customer service hotline. That's part of the selling process. That's that post-purchase selling process. Letter N, hard drives for a microcomputer manufacturer. That's going to be one of their direct materials. Okay, they need those hard drives in order to create those microcomputers. O, lumber used by a furniture manufacturer. Again, if you don't have the wood, you can't create the furniture. So letter O is going to be that direct material. P, wages of a machine operator on the production line. Now here is the person who's operating the machines to create the product. Okay, so that would fall under that direct labor cost, that one that we haven't used yet. So letter P is going to be direct labor costs. Q, first aid supplies for factory workers. There's that factory word, so we know it's one of the first three. It is not assigned to any specific product, so it's going to be overhead. Okay. Oh. Letter R, tires for an automobile manufacturer. It's going to be one of your direct materials. Where do we go? Letter S, paper used by the computer department in processing various managerial reports. Now we're talking about papers that are printed for managers to use to make decisions. Okay, so letter S is going to fall under administrative expenses. Okay, so it's going to be in that very last column there. Letter T, seeds for a grain farmer. That's going to be a direct materials cost, so our first column. Letter U, health insurance premiums paid for factory workers. Health insurance premiums paid for factory workers. Again, we're talking about factory workers, so it has to fall in one of the first three. Health insurance is actually part of labor costs. Okay, so it's going to go in that middle one, that direct labor costs for letter U. Because if you think about it, your health insurance is going to come out of your paycheck, so that's going to fall under labor. Letter V, cost of operating a research laboratory. The cost of operating a research laboratory, they're talking about the behind the scenes stuff. So that's going to fall under under administrative expenses. Letter V is administrative expenses. Okay. W, the costs for television advertisement. Advertising is part of selling. So we're going to focus right there on selling expenses for letter W. Okay. And then our last one, executive bonus for the Vice President of Marketing. Executive bonus for the Vice President of Marketing. Again, marketing falls under selling expenses. Okay, so letter X would also be selling expenses. Okay, go ahead and pop back to your PowerPoint and finish learning about the rest of the chapter.